Good evening
But
and
please.
welcome to TRUTalk. Tonight, Bethesda dabbles in tourism. It's kind of strange. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a lot bigger than we expected, but you might not really know what that means. Fortnite catches YouTubers red-handed, and Sony PlayStation's users get a little bugged. The puns are awful tonight, guys. And the NFL is on
Yeah, they
Twitch.
are.
Yeah, it's
But at
it's
least we have
intentional. We have puns and
I
it's
get it.
intentional. The NFL's on Twitch. We're going to talk about what that could mean for the future. And finally, there might be a silver lining in the TellTalle story that we've been talking about. So it's TRUTalk. Now let's get into it. So Amazon Prime users, we have Twitch on NFL, or Twitch airing the NFL, which is available for those on Amazon Prime. And it's kind of interesting because we've been hearing a lot about how Twitch is getting some attention on ESPN, and now we're getting some sports coming back into the Twitch world. So it's really cool to see that growing. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Epic Games caught some YouTubers promoting and selling cheats. Caught them red-handed, Jim. See? I paid him to laugh, guys. Red Dead Redemption 2. That game is a mouthful. Its file size is gigantic for downloading on the Xbox and PS4, from what I've heard. It's the biggest file size I've heard for a downloadable game. And Destiny 2 opened up their Halloween events today in their weekly reset. I know Jim's excited about it. And speaking of this old man, what you got for us?
Well, whippersnappers. And we'll get into the Destiny stuff later because Destiny. PS4 is crashing with malicious messages. The issue's been fixed, but it was kind of touch and go. They're pretty scary for a lot of folks. You get one message, pretty bad. West Virginia is embracing the coming flood of Fallout 76 fans, which is pretty cool to have a real world event kind of reflect something from video games. I kind of dig that. May have a sort of silver lining with the TellTalle drama, depending upon how you look at it. I mean, I've got some pretty strong views about it, which we'll talk about. Before we get into all that, I want to introduce you to our illustrious guest, the true affiliate, Diebear.
Illustrious.
Illustrious.
Hi.
Yes. How are you?
Good. I'm well. Thank you. I've had a great day doing what I love most, which is streaming and playing a lot of Destiny. So, yeah.
I like her already. Anyone plays Destiny, I'm like, we're good.
It's a great game, man. Great game.
It totally is. So if you would, give us a brief overview of like who you are as a streamer, what your channel is about, how you got started on Twitch.
So I got started when I think we were lured. I was an avid Overwatch player mostly, and we were lured into checking out Twitch for, I think, loot boxes or something, or I don't know, a skin or whatever, and that was in 2017. So I started a Twitch account and connected it to Prime and got my free stuff. And then I tried streaming a little bit, but I had a really bad laptop and it just wasn't, I didn't like it. So earlier this year, I think in April, I ordered a gaming computer. It was very irresponsible. The money should have gone towards something else, but I wanted a new computer. And I do use the computer for work. So got the computer, I think in May. It must have been May because that's when I decided to go back to Twitch and start it up. And I started looking for podcasts and just listening and watching and trying to learn everything I could about it, which is how I found TRUgaming. It's one of the first ones I found, and I ate it up. Just ate it up. And
you omnommed it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So then I just started showing up every Friday to the podcast and got to know the community. And honestly, it's the community that really kept me going. Snoop Hogg also introduced me to Professor Broman, and I started listening to all of his podcasts, got through all of them. And it was I think he throws a statistic around something like 80% of streamers stop before 3 months. And here I am like 4 or 5 months in, and I made affiliate in a month. And So then what I've been doing ever since is figuring out what my brand is. And it's been a journey of starting off with just gaming to having it become more social. And also what I'm arriving at is merging it with my business, which I am a professional career and life coach of 7 years. And I went off on my own. I went off on my own in September, so 13 months ago. And the bulk of my business is resume writing. I work with a lot of executive clients, and they're great. But I hate resumes, and I love coaching, and I'd rather work with people who could benefit from that. So what I'm seeing throughout Twitch, every community I go into, is there's a lot of younger folks who need some help and guidance, and they could benefit from wisdom and experience, and someone who can actually help them map out a plan of success. And so now I'm working on making that more accessible to them. So like I have half price coaching through Patreon. And now 2 weeks ago, I started opening all of my broadcasts with just 2 hours of talking. And there will be a bit of an agenda in the title, but people have been coming and we've been having some really great conversations, and I'm loving it. And then after 2 hours, my introverted brain is ready to shut it down. So we switched to video gaming.
There you go.
So yeah, I actually mapped out my mission and my values, and basically I'm here to help people basically take back their power. That's always been my goal. I want to help you take back your power, take it away from other people, and it's help you take control of your life. And hopefully with Twitch, I can inspire people. Yeah. So
I make a I'm going to totally just jump on this because it's something that I think not enough people do. But there's one other person that I know that does this and does it really well, but has a different professional background than you do. That I think the two of you together, at least just with even a passive conversation, would learn a lot from each other, and it would be really beneficial. Her name is Ashley Christ.
Oh, I know Ashley Christ.
Yeah.
We talk every week.
Good. It's weird because one thing I've learned about Twitch is that content creation in general, as big as of an opportunity as it is, anyone can do it. The people that are really passionate about it tends to be a relatively small community. So I keep finding that, people that I'm into from the Destiny community, people I'm into from TRUgaming, just Twitch in general, like everyone is starting to know everybody, and kind of this weird magnet for people that will like each other.
Yeah.
I hear someone say something that would appeal to someone else that I know, I'm just like, hey, and I just blurt it out. And
I found her shortly after I found TRUgaming and started watching her. She just kept popping up in YouTube, and so then I went and saw her out on Twitch after Green Court had the interview with her. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make time for this. So yeah, so I pop in every week, a couple times a week, and we share ideas.
Nice.
It's a great community.
Good stuff.
I am a YamFam member.
You are a YamFam.
I am. Yeah, I have the Yam next to my name.
There you go.
So it's very inspirational. One thing I like, there's a lot of ideas out there, and of course, anytime you're in a TRUgaming podcast, for example, and you're talking about streaming, people are going to throw out all sorts of ideas, and so at this point, I've pretty much got a solid strategy lined up. It's just a matter of, first of all, being inspired is the biggest part. I get motivated by continuing to participate with these communities and learn. But also, when you hear something enough, you start to think about it differently. And so now everything I hear, I know what I'm going to go with and what I'm not going to go with. But now it's a matter of tweaking things. So, but yeah, it's okay to say no to some ideas, and other ones you need to write them down and try them out. So
that's how one grows. That's how you make a name for yourself. Speaking of your name,
exactly.
Where did Diebear come from? So I got to read about this
really
already. You kind of gave us, Jim's a lot better at the transitions and puns than I am, but I like to throw them out anyway because it makes Jim cringe, and that's what I enjoy most.
Don't put them in the trash. Those are great.
Offer them up.
So I already know, getting to read kind of like some of your information prior to the stream, I know where your name came from, and I think it's actually really clever and really cool. But let's why don't you let everybody else know, how did Diebear come to be?
Sure. So my last name, it comes from a Romance language, and it's 4 letters, and it means bear. So, one day I was at community college, my first year. It was back in 1997. And I was sitting at a computer with my friend who was teaching me, how to use the internet. And she was helping me set up my first email account. And I had to come up with a username. And I'm like, well, my first name is Diane. And, I'll just go with Di. And then my last name means bear. So _bear. And of course, at that time, I didn't go by Di personally because Princess Diana was around and I hated princess references, especially being a tomboy. Oh my God. So then after she passed away, and with several years of the internet and everyone shortening my name to Di, I just got used to it. Now my friends call me Di.
See, as soon as with her being passed away and everything, my brain just immediately goes to you saying, "Oh, good, she's dead. I can use it."
Well, after a few years passed, that was no longer the identity. Then then it was my name. So.
Right.
And I guess she
never
did
say
come
die
first.
to saying
so.
die is okay.
Exactly. And
Wow.
there have been some Overwatch jokes during Reaper alts.
Oh, I imagine. Yeah, but you had mentioned about motivation with community and being engaged with people. What do you attribute to keeping that motivation going? Like, because even if you're passionate about it and coming back to things, there are days where it can be difficult, right? So
yeah, there are days when it can be a little disconcerting.
Sure. So what keeps you going?
I think age and experience helps, especially when it comes to not taking things personally. I think the hardest thing is dealing with trolls.
Okay.
People will come in and like someone asked me to take my bra off the other day, and the first thing I did was ban them. It's at this point it doesn't even bother me. It's like, all right, ban, you're gone. You don't know how to act. My community is for a certain kind of person, and it's not for everyone. And if you don't know how to act, it's a more mature, older community, and we do have some teenagers. One of my mods is a teenager. He learned how to act. we had an issue, a year ago, and then he just kind of grew up a little bit. And but if you don't know how to talk to people, then go away. And if you're there just to cause trouble, I will make you go away. And so having that strength and that confidence to do that is probably the biggest thing when it actually comes to streaming online. When it comes to the work, I put in over 40 hours a week on my stream. So yes, I will do long streams, but a lot of that work is actually, yes. I see chat. So a lot of the work is actually me, listening to podcasts, taking notes, contemplating while I'm driving for Lyft during the day. I work like 4 jobs. It's crazy. Life of an entrepreneur. And then I started a bullet journal thanks to another person I met on Twitch, and I've used that to help revise my schedule and make it work. I'm a firm believer that if you can't make something work or you're just not doing the work, it's not necessarily because you're being lazy or you can't do it or whatever. I'm a firm believer that you need to work around your weaknesses. So for me, one day I realized I can't do 3 jobs in one day. It's just too much because I like to focus on things. So I now have it. So, there are several days a week where I do 1 job, and then there's another day, like Tuesdays, it's predominantly streaming. Saturdays are turning into being all day streaming. It's a maximum of 2 different projects per day. And I had to shift it. So I switched to morning streaming because I found that if I was out driving during the day and then came home, I was getting really tired at night. And it wasn't good energy. Now I wake up with my coffee and I'm good to go. But as far as the work goes, I like the work. I'm both analytical and creative. And what I love about streaming on Twitch is that, I got my MBA a couple years ago, and this is something I use that degree for every day. And I love it because that's what I'm passionate about. It speaks to my personality type and how I think. And yeah, this gets me excited and happy. So if I can make this full time someday, that would be my heaven.
Well, I can definitely hear the passion kind of coming through. Yeah, like.
Can we just kind of nominate her for like best interview questions of this season? I'm just gonna say.
Done.
Like, for real though. I mean, every guest we've had has given great answers. They're personable, but as far as like comprehensive, self-aware that okay, I got to come around to a point here and barrel, and it's good stuff.
Thank you.
I am severely impressed.
No,
Thank you.
it's definitely a niche that's or a niche. I don't know. Depends on how you want to say it. That's
I
really
think both are acceptable.
yeah. It's definitely
You
something that's
just
working
cover
for you.
those blue chips with Nichio cheese.
Oh, Nichio cheese, something you see at football games. Oh, Jim's gonna cringe because that brings us to our first topic.
Ooh.
I put that line out there. You took the bait, sir.
See,
I'll see myself trout.
We that's it. We're done.
I have no fish to embarrass you further.
Oh my goodness. All right, so the NFL has made has made a big statement this season by coming in strong and making a big 2-year deal with Amazon, and we have 11 Thursday night games this season on Amazon Prime. So last year they just had a 1-year deal yesterday, last season, just like as a trial run. A lot of the times I would go to the channel and it was just like, hey, go here to watch the game. But this season, and hopefully expanding more into next season, there's a lot more interactive things that they have using some of the extensions on Twitch, where you can watch the Thursday night games live on the Prime Video channel on Twitch. And it's got, I don't know if you've seen it before, Jim or Diebear, but
I haven't seen it. I've read about it.
Yeah, it's really cool. I didn't know that they had all these extensions running, but you can get stats on the game, like live stats as you're watching. You can even they're even experimenting with a couple of little like betting games. I don't think it's real money. I think it's just in-stream points that you can use to win rewards and stuff like that. But betting on some of the scores after quarters, the little prop bets. So they're just trying to get interactive. And one of the really cool things that I heard about this is that it was like over 2 million worldwide viewers watched the game on Twitch, and that was compared to almost 15 million watching it on traditional TV. So that's a huge chunk of viewership. And if
think about it, like this is the evolution of media. And when we were going to talk about this, I decided I was going to try an experiment. My cable provider, well, my internet provider, I don't have cable, offered something to me, and I said, well, this is perfect, where it's actually a basic cable package for $18 a month. It's all streaming. You can view it, but the thing is, what I come to find out is that essentially they have a lot of work to do when it comes to really capitalizing on that kind of format, because the resolution isn't that great. Watching on a TV is actually pretty problematic. They don't understand who they're catering to at this point, I don't think. And when you look at that revelation, these are the people that bring you TV and bring you internet, but they can't bring the two together with any real kind of cohesiveness that one would expect from someone who's supposed to be an expert in both of these things. It should be an easy thing to do. Well, if you consider that that's definitely been the case in my experience for a long time, the idea that now the NFL, really struggling for viewership, they're neutering of the rules and making the game arguably more boring over the last 5 years. Aside, the foresight that they're showing by partnering with Amazon to kind of bring people in is really telling. It's very forward thinking. I just wish that the games were as exciting as the prospect of the technology. Just going to throw that out there. I haven't watched football in many years because it just
gave it up.
I'd rather watch rugby myself.
I watch my team lose every Thanksgiving. That's about it. Yeah.
Which team would that be?
Detroit Lions. I mean, I'm from Detroit.
You can watch them any game they're in. You don't have to wait till Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but Thanksgiving I'm stuck at my parents' house without the computer, and I have to slow down, and yeah. So then I just grab a drink with my brother and we watch TV.
There you go.
There you go. There you go. You're like, don't harsh my vibe, Jim. I just want to have a drink and be sad. Can I do that?
It's okay. At least your team didn't open the season with a tie against the Browns.
Oh,
to
a
be
tie?
fair, the Browns have been getting better.
Yeah,
There's one of those teams that their reputation kind of precedes them, no matter what kind of team they have in a given year. But I've noticed that they have been getting a little better. One could say that it's the NFL is trying very hard to stay relevant and stay current, get bigger in the overall scheme, but at least they're not filling up your hard drive.
Well, I think what's interesting, and at first I didn't really think about it, and then I had time to look over the article, and you have a lot of people like me who usually when you're my age, you're not quitting your job to start a business, so you have money, and so that's a demographic the NFL is trying to reach, and yet most of us have cut the cable. A lot of my friends who are doing very well, who would watch it, got rid of cable, and if it's the NFL on Fox, which is usually what it is, and you have a station like we have in Detroit, which doesn't really amplify the signal, there's no guarantee you're going to see it with your little high def $30 antenna you get from Amazon. So they're not reaching an audience that they really want to reach. So I think getting on Twitch is brilliant. And I know a lot of people don't associate video gaming with, middle-aged people, but most of the people I game with are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. And a lot of people I'm learning, especially women, older women are streaming. Maybe we just finally get more confident as we get older, but there is a huge market on Twitch, and I think there's a lot of diversity that the NFL could benefit from. But here's the problem. I would much rather go to a smaller stream and hang out with people and chat than I would watch football on my computer when I'm by myself. For me, sports are social.
Right.
I'd rather be at a bar with a beer.
At the same time, there's a part of it that, as far as a traditional Twitch streaming environment, I think that anyone who's watched Twitch more than 8 seconds understands that the large channels, the chat is just worthless. One of the things that I feel like is the genius of this is that they're allowing folks that maybe are American or have enjoyed American football in the past that haven't had access to those games in a long time or temporarily overseas or something like that. Now you can get it. Like it's all there is to it. Like there's not a licensing problem. Licensing's been done through the deal with Amazon and Twitch.
Which is brilliant.
So I think a lot of those viewers, I would throw this number out as a complete guess. I'm willing to bet that at least 20% of those views that they were getting were from people that would otherwise just not be in a position to watch the game for logistic, geographic reasons. And then maybe another 10% at the very least are people that are like yourself, where you have access to the game, but it's not going to be the experience that you really want because of either a signal issue or what have you. And maybe we're going to see in enough time. I mean, there's enough great Twitch apps out there on like the Fire Stick and Roku and smart TVs and stuff like that. I think you're going to see a rise in people going over to people's houses for either parties like that, or you might start to see communities that do have a love of the game. Instead of watching a movie together through Rabbit or something like that, they're going to watch the football game together in chat in Discord, or maybe just,
or they might have it on while they're playing a game, which I've seen people do with Overwatch League. Or
even host or even host the channel and then use their chat. If there's a social aspect you're worried about and you want to kind of involve people, we'll just host the damn thing on your own channel.
I didn't even think about that.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I've been doing a long time. Like I've been doing that with a lot of like the tournaments and stuff like that I want to watch. or like Twitch events, stuff like that, which they encourage anyway.
Mhm.
And I think it's just a matter of time before they renegotiate that that contract to allow for co-streaming. For those of you that don't know, co-streaming is where Twitch will allow you to put the stream inside of OBS, either as a browser source or whatever capture method you choose to use, and actually stream it as your own content, provided you don't claim ownership.
So like I could stream the football game and give my own
Yep.
commentary on it.
Exactly, because I think
That would be awesome.
That to me is the logical step for a lot of these kind of events, where you get to a place where you can create content and create interest in content. It's a win-win for everybody in those situations. And I feel like it's a good space.
Well, if you think about it, with the extensions that they're providing too, if a co-stream becomes enabled, or hosting it or whatever, if you get these extensions accessible and you host a viewing party, or you and your friends go out to a local bar or a coffee house or whatever where they have Wi-Fi and you're watching, and you guys can compete with each other because you're getting points by betting on little prop bets. Like, some of the examples they're showing here are who has the higher possession time, who has the higher average gain per play kind of thing. And you can get points and you can compete with each other. I mean, it might not go anywhere unless you make little personal bets at home, but there's interaction. There's that social aspect that Bear was talking about. There's all sorts of things. And I can imagine, if it does open up to co-stream, like you're saying, Jim, maybe that provides something for my stream or your stream or anybody who wants to do this to have a little bit of fun interaction, because I do watch football games from my computer and I do watch it through apps. I've got no cable. I've completely cut the cord and I'm on fiber internet, and that's all of it. So this is, I'm super excited. And one thing I want to say, I know we're gonna get to Red Dead Redemption, but one of the things just to point out, if we have to, yeah. Amazon has spent $4.5 billion in 2017 on video content, and so they are clearly competing with the Netflix and Hulu concept. And we're well beyond a gaming stream platform. We've been beyond it for a long time. We've seen Ninja get on ESPN.
And if I may,
yeah,
with that revelation, and you add in what they have with the Amazon Prime thing, which I think that the more they integrate that in Twitch, whether that be Amazon, you need to renegotiate your licenses and allow us to play Amazon Prime music as requests.
Yes, I've been thinking about this. Yes.
But the thing is, they are succeeding they are, blazing a path and succeeding where Google and YouTube have just been floundering and falling over like a drunk grandma with an aneurysm. Just horrible. And Amazon is, they're just taking the risk, they're taking the steps, they're putting the money in the right place. And I feel like it's just a matter of time before we see a greater integration overall. There was a recent survey. This is turning into something totally different, but it's a great conversation.
I think this is something I want to talk about, though. Yeah, this is a good topic.
They recently put out a survey for people who've been affiliates for a while and so forth, and I think even some viewers and whatnot. And the survey said they asked specifically if you ever do community nights and watch films, and where you do it, how you do it, what kind of interaction, which would seem to infer that they're going to, at some point, find a way to pilot some kind of video hosting, co-streaming kind of thing with Prime Video. It'd be easy to do. They own enough content on their own, and then they could, have different levels of licensing for different movies, and it would be pretty cool. I think that the more they integrate the ability to interact on a community level and commentate on a creative level with content they have access to, whether it be music, whether it be film, whether it be TV or NFL, whatever. I feel that that's the future. I think the future is personalizing content so you can consume it and share it the way you want to. I feel like this NFL thing is kind of just the beginning of them really doubling down on this idea that, we have that ability, because just the idea of being able to just host an NFL game just by pressing a button on your Twitch channel and using your chat to talk about the game. If my father was still around, I'd be doing that every Thursday. Because he would love that, because he was a chat room guy back in the days of like BBNet and Prodigy and so forth. And he was the IRC thing and all that, and he used to do bulletin boards and all this stuff. So I think that this would be something Twitch would have been his jam in the first place. And then now with this, he would just be like, well, I know what I'm doing Thursday. That's where he would be. He would just be so into it. So like, and I know that this would be a way of bringing in, like Di was saying, there's a market for an older demographic on Twitch. And I've been saying that for the, 4 years I've been doing this. And that's why I run my stream the way that I do. It's like, well, if you want to do something that's, teenager friendly, then there's a million channels for you to watch. If you want to come use adult language and talk about adult subjects and hear, really bad dad jokes and play some games and whatnot, you've come to the right place, where we use the F word and the C word and every other word. But we do it for fun, and we don't make fun of anybody, and all are welcome. It's very inclusive. However, you have to know that there's going to be a certain level of maturity, like the content's going to be for this, level of person. And the longer I do it, the more of a market there seems to be. And I feel like on Twitch are figuring that out more than ever, because not just because it's always been a market, but now a lot of the people that started watching back when this was just in TV, they're growing up. They're out of college. They've got families. They have other interests now. And what's cool about it is that, think about the average Twitch viewer. A lot of them don't watch just one stream. They'll have a few streams up and they'll kind of bounce between, the ones that they're watching, and try and just kind of interact where they're at. And think about the Twitch viewer who now, if they watch football with any degree of regularity, they love Thursday Night Football. Like, well, that's going to take them away from Twitch. Not anymore. Now,
I already know in November I'm going to host Prime Video Thursday the 8th of November because my team's playing. I just
there you go.
I mean,
sweet. Oh. What I would like to see is so I don't allow music on my stream. Now, if I come home and I'm a little tipsy, I usually want to hear some classic rock, so I might end up deleting a VOD that night. But what I would like to see is Amazon come up with some kind of a deal with the music industry that would allow us, like, if it's my stream, I can play music that is on my Prime account, and it would, how they put like the game below the video, like you can buy Destiny for however much. They could do that with the song that's playing. So if you like that song, you can add it to your playlist, or if you don't have Prime or it's not available via Prime, then you can buy it for $1.99 or whatever. And I think that might actually be a really new way for the music industry to finally evolve with technology. But they're going to have to get on board with something.
Exactly. When you look at what happened with Spotify about 2 months ago, they actually modified their API to the point where remove the ability for the song request bots to use them at all, to hook in the way that they were. So now there's a bigger hole in the market that needs to be filled, and Amazon's poised to do it. All they got to do is a little bit of legal finagling. They'd probably have to do it on a label by label basis, which is a lot less complicated than. Yeah, it's a lot less complex than it sounds, and I feel like someone's just got to step up and do it. And again, this just bodes well to. I mean, this is the kind of like the cross-play discussion we had. What was it last week? Where this is the beginning of. I got to be honest, like this kind of thing, this kind of innovation makes me want to eat a little bit more broccoli and take a little bit better care of myself, because at 41, if I've got this at 71, holy shit, that's going to be fun.
It sounds like the three of us just need to like be, we need to just open a whole new department within Amazon in their marketing department, and we, the three of us, need to just run this and just take it and run with it for them. Like Amazon,
as long
if
as
you're
I can
listening,
telecommute, I'm there.
Yeah,
I think we need to talk with their legal team and get them to do something.
I mean, if you're listening, Amazon, we got you covered. Like, we can handle it. So,
I mean, if they want to use my account as a test run, I would be more than happy.
yeah,
Let me please let me
viewership
be a
through the
guinea
roof
pig.
right there.
Right? I would love
also-
to be able to offer that.
As someone who was a professional in the music industry, I actually have a lot of label contacts.
Oh,
So it would be a very simple matter for me to call some people up and be like, would you be willing to do this? And I would get yeses out of a lot of people. I have 15 years experience in doing just that.
I'm now
I
seeing
feel like
comments in chat
Amazon,
about
like
me
Jeff
being the head of
Bezos
Amazon.
needs to see this. Yeah.
Right.
It could happen.
You know, and I'm not asking for a lot of money, just enough to survive. I don't need a ton.
Yeah, like, you know,
Honest, 35 grand would be enough for me.
Oh my gosh, that
a
would
month,
be
a
amazing.
paycheck, a year, like
I would take 35
A
grand a
year.
year. Yeah. That would pay my rent, man, and my car and my
Yeah.
bill. Yeah. My student loans.
Yeah. You could take basically if they were willing to pay me 35 grand a year to do that and negotiate that stuff 40 hours a week, I would gladly relinquish all of my affiliate payout. I would gladly commit to streaming more, basically to kind of market the thing that we're doing. Like because
But you know
this is
what's
something that's been a
interesting?
big problem on Twitch since inception.
Yep.
I think the NFL thing, to circle back, is really an interesting partnership, because if the NFL sees a lot of success, that could open the gate to the music industry, because my impression of the NFL and the NCAA has been for quite some while that they are incredibly possessive of everything that has anything to do with their broadcasts. And
Just like the music industry.
yeah. And for Amazon to do this, I mean, maybe that is their next step. It could be, because they're thinking several years ahead of us. So I do love Amazon. So I have a little bit of faith in them.
And
it's kind of scary that I love a company that much.
Yeah. Well, I know we could talk about this topic all night. And we got a lot of.
And he's going to heavily edit it for the on demand.
No, we're not editing. We're gonna let this just run. Like, we're gonna. This is all good talk. But you know, Jim, you started to try and take us over to Red Dead Redemption 2.
I did.
It's not a huge article, but I mean, and this was an unintended transition, an unintended pun. It's not a huge article, but it's a huge file size. You know, the PS4 we found out weeks ago is over 100 gigs download just for this game, and on Xbox it's about 90 gigs. Like they said, it's approximately 88 point something. Like we can round it to 90. It's massive, and the problem is with a lot of some internet companies, you've got data caps. And if you're going to spend almost 100 gigs or more than 100 gigs of download just to get this game, that doesn't look too good for Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, I know the first one was kind of popular. I didn't play it too much because it wasn't my style, but I know it's still a really good game. And I would imagine the second one's going to be even better. But, I mean, I fortunately was able to get in on an intro deal where I have no data cap. But I know other streamers who've had to stop streaming at the end of the month because of the cap. This just hurts. I don't know what you guys think about this.
I feel like it's the same problem that we run into anytime a big game comes out. No, pun kind of intended, but it was a literal thing. Like Destiny is a gigantic game now at this point. Anytime Grand Theft Auto does anything, it's huge. So you see this argument come up all the time. With game size versus the cap, and just this week, I actually called up my provider and I said, "Hey, this cap you have me on is effing ridiculous, and what can we do about this?" Well, for an additional, I think it was $30 a month or $50 a month, you're unlimited. And I'm like, doesn't change my speed, doesn't change your speed. I'm like, okay, cool, because the amount of money that I'm spending there is static. And I'm saving anywhere from $30 to $50 a month over what the overage fees have been. And you figure the lady, 2 kids, tons of equipment everywhere, running internet all the time. And all of us are guilty at one point or another of leaving something running for a long period of time. We're not in the room. Plus streaming, plus everything. And plus my day job, we actually switched to VoIP phones, soft phone in the computer, which is a huge bandwidth suck. So it's like I had no choice, because it's like, well, I can't wonder what my bill's going to be. And not every person in every area of the country or the world has that option. Some companies will just throw these fees at you like crazy, and or your budget is that tight you can't afford more than what you've got. So at that point, you have to, like you said before, just stop.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how many people have to like budget their bandwidth to the point where they can afford to get the game. And I guarantee you there are some streamers out there that are going to just sacrifice streaming for a couple weeks to be able to just download the game, which is insane. But a download size that big bodes well for the game itself.
A lot of content. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't really complain about it from the perspective of why would the game be that big? Like, no, I'm sure it's going to be great. I've never played a single second of RDR. I haven't even really watched a lot of gameplay for it. I've just heard a lot of people just rave about it and this and that, and that's great. And I know that people are really excited for it, but I have to wonder if there's a better way to deliver that content in a way that at least compresses it a bit more. Like, why can't there be built into the operating systems or the content platform some kind of a compression system like Zip or RAR or something like that that compresses the file size at least a little bit? Maybe use peer-to-peer or torrent technology in some way that allows it to get pulled down in smaller increments or something, because I can't escape the feeling that that's an opportunity that's been missed this generation, and I hope that they'll explore that more, because digital copies of games are not going down, they're only going up. There's less and less incentive to get a physical copy of the game anymore.
Yep.
Although Rockstar, if you're trying to sell physical copies of your game, the size of your game alone has done that.
Success.
This one, I'm curious to see if someone will come up with some kind of a map or a chart that shows where in the world the physical copies sell more than the digital ones, because potentially of things like this. Because I feel like there's got to be some kind of correlation that we haven't yet really heard about. I do think that this being such a large game for the gaming community at large, because it is such a highly anticipated game, but also just a large file size, I wonder if that hopefully would open the conversation a bit more, because you just don't hear about this often enough with enough consistency to see any incentive for the companies to really change what they're doing.
Well, you hear me bring it up all the time when we run into different conversations about improvements you can make to consoles, and I think we're at that point where graphics are kind of at an all-time high. You could maybe make them a little bit better, but there's not a whole lot further to go with next-gen consoles, since we're already at kind of like that performance as far as graphics cards, just a slight tweak. Now we're at those things, the efficiencies you can gain, the ways you can stand out in the marketplace, and your
frame rate.
Yep, frame rate, torrenting, compression, file compressions, all sorts of stuff like that. I still maintain, no matter what they do, PC gaming will always be a step ahead because of the ability for all the large components until you make a console that big. But there's so many things that you can do. If Microsoft or if Sony or if Nintendo jumps out with one of these new features with that P2P, with that frame rate increase, they're going to increase their sales so far ahead, and they're going to steal customers from the other brand. That's where you need to stand out. And this game proves that this is one of the use cases to help benefit that. Another thing you can do to make your consoles better is to protect your gamers a little bit better. Something that Sony ran into the other day with you like that Switch?
Yeah, I see what you did there. Yeah, I did. I did like that.
So there's been a malicious message going around that PlayStation gamers have been receiving, and if you open it, it crashes your PlayStation, and I believe the end result is a full factory reset of your console. So I mean, wipe it.
No.
So I know some people have dealt with that.
People did that to try and get around it, but that's too far. Basically, you can actually fix this problem by changing a setting from your mobile app on your phone.
Okay.
All you have to do. But some people were going to the length of doing a factory reset because some of the customer service folks at the initial onset of this issue didn't know how to fix it. And they figured it out within like half of a day or something. And it wasn't a ginormous amount of people affected that negatively. But it was enough people were affected by the actual problem, if not the bad version of the solution that Sony came out and put this big thing and said, hey, here's what you do. I already had my messages on friends only, so I wasn't affected, thank goodness. And this, and with them having the fix, I'm like, whatever. But at the end of the day, like, it's scary.
Yeah.
Luckily, this is something where it was a relatively easy fix. And I guess it was only a matter of time before you started to see kind of the console version of the virus come out. I'm actually surprised it's taken this long for someone to do something like that, because you'll see stuff like that all the time with like DDoS attacks and IP spoofing, all manner of really crazy stuff you can do, aimbots and whatnot on a PC. And if you really want to mess somebody's PC up bad enough, it's not that difficult if you know how to find their IP or whatever or target them. With a console, it's easier to directly send them something message. But as far as them being able to actually encode the message in such a way that can cripple their system even temporarily, it's pretty scary.
I mean, the funny part is that these messages contain characters that weren't supported by the system, and that's what caused it. And as a PC user, that kind of blows my mind. Like, really? that crashed your system. I'm sorry. It's kind of funny, and shame on Sony.
Well, I mean, but you have to understand that the reason that happens is because there's a much bigger premium. Just to kind of piggyback off of the story before, the storage on a hard drive for a console is very much at a premium. And it's not that the console is incapable of reading those characters, it's that it's incapable of reading them without the right language set installed. And if you're not using the language, it's not installed on your console. And then some of those are characters that is a language that no one would have.
But I would think that they would have something that would address that issue. That seems like a really old problem.
Well, they do now with the fix that they implemented.
But I guess that's something they never really had to worry about. And it's just kind of funny that, to me, it seems like it was an easy project for these malicious users to unleash on that community.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, Windows machines are by far one of the most widely used devices even today. But that's why you commonly hear more about viruses and malware and stuff like that hitting the Windows communities. But it still happens, to Mac users. It still happens to Android users. It still happens to console users. The thing is, it's not as common, or it didn't used to be as common or as widespread or as largely talked about, because Windows was the big target, because that's where your use was. Now with things like Twitch,
but these are complex viruses, though.
Sure. But if you think about it, as the social communities are expanding, as Android, as getting away from the PC and into the mobile marketplace, into the consoles and stuff like that, as streaming is getting more popular, now these other systems are much more ripe for the picking, because there hasn't been a need to be as robust in your safety and security, and people are now more easily finding those exploits.
That is a great point, especially since they're now matching with apps. Like Destiny has the Destiny 2 app that you can use. So that's another issue.
And don't be surprised if you hear that maybe Microsoft has an exploited security thing with Xbox in the future. Switch, I mean, Switch going online now. Switch could be a susceptible target. Don't be surprised.
We all know how good Nintendo is at an online system.
What's that?
And we all know how good Nintendo is at their online system.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It's the best one out there.
Yeah, great.
So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me to hear that there was, a malicious attack on Sony users or PlayStation users or a non-Windows user, because it's ripe for the picking. I mean,
Yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me at
Yeah.
all. What surprises me is the simplicity of the attack. It's the technology that surprises
Yeah.
me. I would think it would be something a little bit more involved, but it wasn't. So this is a good lesson for Sony.
it's a good lesson for
That's my
everybody
point.
outside
Yeah.
of computer.
Mhm.
Apple is probably well ahead of protecting stuff like this on their mobile devices, and
Mhm.
Microsoft's probably maybe not. But I really hope Microsoft and Nintendo and they're all looking into this and looking at other little easy exploits in their systems, and maybe
One must
small.
hope.
Yeah, you
Yep.
really hope. I mean, we really need better informational security officers that are like handling this in all of these big companies, because that's going to be one of the other things that's going to set your console or your mobile device ahead, is to show that you've got much more robust security than others have. So,
Mhm.
And
I
a
mean,
great example of that is that Epic is on top of the security of their platform and their game, the
reeling
most
it in,
popular
Jim.
game in the world, by suing YouTubers that
He's
are
really good
selling
at this.
game exploits and cheat. Which is great because
They're selling them. Wow.
for the first bleep of the podcast, fuck those guys.
And the thing that really shocks me here, okay, yes, Epic bought an anti-cheating company, and we were
Yes.
wondering what a week or two ago when we talked about them buying this company, what does this mean for them? Well, they didn't take too long to show us what they're really
Nope.
aiming for. And the
Nope.
thing that really makes me laugh is one of the two YouTubers that got caught said, "I don't need to take those down. I don't see an issue with what I'm doing here. Other people are doing the same thing." Dude, you are on public social media showing people how to cheat. How do you not know that this is wrong? What did your
You're breaking terms of service in more ways than one. You're breaking it's a breach of contract
With
with the people
YouTube.
that you've licensed the game from and on YouTube as well. So you've broken terms of service for YouTube. You've broken terms of service for Epic, and you're enabling others to
That's
do the
just
same.
the cheating. That's just the cheating
And
part. You
for
are knowing,
profit.
yeah, and
For
then you're
profit.
just an asshole by taking money for it and saying, "I'm not doing anything wrong." GamerDad dropped a bad word. That's how passionate I am about this idiotic concept. I mean, there's not a whole lot more
Yeah,
to
jerks.
it. These guys wipe them off of YouTube, pre-ban them on Twitch, just get
Whoa.
rid of them everywhere. I can't. I don't. Like, let them go on about.
And they're being sued on top of that. Like they're gonna have to pay up some dough.
Yes.
So like damages, because they're not just breaking those terms and publishing
DMCA
cheats, but
is
then
not
they're
a
also
joke.
never mind the fact that they are also think about it like the cascade effect, right? Or a ripple. I guess it's more of a ripple really.
Effect, yeah.
Where they only sold it to 5 or 10 people. But every single game those 5 or 10 people are involved with, they're affecting 99 other people and their ability to play the game properly. And even if you only play 10 games of Fortnite in the time that it took, that's like 500 plus 500, that's a couple thousand people off of 5 sales, and damn well they didn't use that shit.
Yeah, there's more.
Damn well they did, because right. So from that perspective alone, it's scary how much reach that kind of stuff has. But I think it's important that Epic really take a strong stance against this. Epic, I'm not a huge Fortnite fan, but I really am a big Epic fan. They are leading the charge when it comes to being progressive within how gaming entities interact with their communities and their platform holders and everything else. And they're also showing a lot of progressive thought when it comes to making sure that they keep those people safe and making sure that those platforms aren't messed with. When you have a game that is ostensibly free, but is still managing to make over $1 million a day, just in the mobile platform alone, and that's just Android, and count the rest of your platforms.
Yeah.
You're making that much money on a game you don't have to put any money into to play. It's the most popular thing in the world, probably will be for a while.
Remember,
they're
I
investing
made
their
the
money.
well, I made the point with consoles. If you do something to stand out, put yourself ahead of the competition, you're gonna see success. Hello, Epic. I mean, Diebear, you've been playing a lot of Destiny too, but imagine if you went into a Crucible match and somebody had an exploit or a mod, and how much enjoyment are you gonna get out of that game?
I feel like they do already.
Oh, of course. Yes, every game is getting.
Yeah, you like.
Oh my God, Crucible's terrible.
Yeah. Macros with the
I will
Titan
say,
skin.
I think there's another part of this that could possibly be influencing Epic's decision. And I remember a lot of people telling me before I started streaming that you had a lot of the big Overwatch streamers who were leaving Overwatch because competitive is broken. It still is broken.
Yeah.
Their system is just not right for a team sport. And now you have Call of Duty out. And Epic is dealing with a lot of their biggest streamers going to Call of Duty. And one thing that they can do is maintain the integrity of their game. So by actively and publicly going after people who are promoting cheats, they're at least saying, hey, when you come to Fortnite, this is still going to be a fair game for everyone who's involved. So that is a huge issue for most gamers. Most of us, we want to do well based on our own merit, not by cheating. And the pros are very much like that.
And it's amazing. I mean, it's a company that's getting it right, and they're really taking what their community wants. And another way that we're seeing that happening in today's gaming world is with Fallout 76. Now, doing it a little bit differently. Yeah, I'm channeling my inner Jim and just hitting.
I kind of helped that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. See, Diebear's on it too. So we may not be talking about.
It's fine.
But yeah, we may not be talking about online security and ways to make the game a little bit safer and all that. But they took a real world location in West Virginia, and they have milestones and everything, and they turned it into a future post nuclear Fallout world. And the really big Fallout fans are now going to this location, and West Virginia embraced this. Bethesda embraced this, and it's everybody. They sold out of Fallout T-shirts and posters at these locations. Like I think the I don't want to say the tourist center or what, I don't know what the building's actually called there, but they're welcoming all these people. They're embracing this beautiful, beautiful place. I mean, imagine if what was the last game that had, it was in like Montana or something like that. Far Cry 4.
Far Cry
5. Far Cry 5, I think. I mean, imagine if that happened there. You're welcoming them with open arms, and West Virginia's tourism just really loves it. Bethesda's all over it. I mean, it's fantastic to really let your fans in unique ways benefit from their own interest. And we've talked about Bethesda doing awesome things in the past by letting a young terminally ill child play the game before it was even released. Like, they get it. I really think I'm getting chills about the previous story, but it's really cool to see people embracing what their community is giving to them.
Right, and I think that there's a bigger implication here. How many times growing up, because we're all around the same age, for the most part, I think GamerDad will be
I'm not super far behind.
I get you. I'm just giving you a hard time, brother. But the point being that how many times did we hear growing up that video gaming is not good for you, it's not healthy, don't learn anything, this and that.
I still hear
this
that.
is promoting history. This is promoting people. This is encouraging people to leave their house, go do something, and be in the world. And I think that there's an opportunity for younger people who are really into certain games and obsess over certain things. In Destiny, I can't just hop on a bus and go to Titan. I can't hop on a bus and go to the Dreadnought. I don't. And even the Cosmodrome is made up. Yeah. There's no real world. I can't just go to that.
You can't even go to the EDZ as much as you'd want to.
No, you can't. I mean, I could argue that the EDZ is real now. That's it's not really. It's a joke. It's your economy.
Oh man.
Oh wow.
And
in a
I'm
few
not
more
saying
years,
that
it'll be
Go the
real.
rails. We're way off the rails now, guys.
where we're going, we don't need rails. But ultimately, my point,
Now you need
making,
sparrows.
there had to be some kind of, there had to be a follow up to the vaginas aren't scary debacle from last week.
Oh my god.
Okay.
What did I
rant,
miss?
You
Oh my gosh.
were-
I'll go back and watch it.
You missed the ninja rant. I haven't posted that previous one yet because real life is a
Yeah.
thing. But yes, you missed the
It
ninja
happened.
rant. Yeah.
But the thing is that spilled over. I posted on my personal Facebook about it, and then and the boy found out about it, and so like all weekend long he'd just walk up to me and just kind of stop and go, vaginas aren't scary. I'm like, you know. And you know, yeah, and I was like, because I told him the story, and he was like, he didn't know about the backstory of that to begin with. He had no idea on any of it. I told him that, and he went, "Why would he do that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I think it's dumb." He goes, "It is dumb. It is," and then he just kind of would say that.
Bonding moments.
But
Jim.
so the follow up this week is me slagging the European Union's lack of economy. Not that America's doing any better. Not really. Everyone's economy sucks right now. But a good way to stimulate the economy would be to go places like West Virginia and stimulate their economy, going there, buying their beef jerky and other things.
West Virginia is a beautiful state.
So Bethesda, I've been there, and it is very beautiful. So Bethesda is inadvertently helping the economy of the United States and more so West Virginia, and in stimulating interest in American history and nature and the outdoors through a video game. I mean, what better outcome could you want for anything like this? Unless you're TellTalle, and then you've got bigger problems.
I saw it coming. I saw that coming. You know, and you've heard me rant on this every time I find some new news. Every time we plan for one of these podcasts, I go and I look up TellTalle. I want to know what's going on because you saw the personal like grudge that I have with a previous employer, very similar to this, that a massive layoff because of some failures in a game. And it really boiled my blood when we first started talking about it. I mean, there's a very small silver lining to what's going on here. Skybound Games has decided to save the final season of The Walking Dead by picking it up. More importantly, they are going to be working with, I don't know the full details, they haven't really given all of the information here, but they're going to be working with some of the previous people that were working on the game at TellTalle. So I would imagine this is a very small subset, but some people are going to be okay for a very brief period. At least it's not that abrupt running into a brick wall. They've got some time to try and plan. But, you know, seeing that there's a little bit here going forward with The Walking Dead, yeah, I know we're not really worried as much about the gamers wanting to finish the story here. I think the other side
but
of it,
I do feel like that at this point, though, that you can't completely downplay that.
Sure.
Because yes, there are a lot of people without livelihood, but there are a lot of other people that paid into something and aren't getting everything they paid for.
Agreed. I agree there.
I agree that the balance really should be leaned towards those without a job in terms of your empathy. I do feel that making a concerted effort to, you know, do right by the fans is important, but my curiosity is piqued by, well, what do you do with the profits of that? Do you perhaps invest it and try to give back to some folks that maybe didn't have this opportunity? You know, do you maybe the opportunity here is to start a foundation within the industry that all development companies should put into, almost like an unemployment fund, but make it exclusively for people affected by this stuff.
Right.
To where we try to avoid this kind of fallout. No, I mean, you know, I'm not trying to make a pun there because we're talking about Bethesda. I just feel like there's an opportunity here because there's been such bright light shown on this problem with TellTalle closing. And that's also led to a lot of talk in the industry about the crazy amount of hours and like the crunch period and stuff. I feel like there's an opportunity here that they really need to capitalize on as an industry to help people in these situations so that it doesn't happen on this scale again. It's too much.
I mean, and you guys both, as we were kind of doing pre-show notes and kind of talking about some of the articles, saw me get pretty heated because we've also seen some more of the details as to what could have potentially contributed. This is all, there's no fact proving that it is definitively the cause, but we've seen things like the former CEO filing a lawsuit, knowing that this company was under some financial stress, and this lawsuit could have potentially broken the back of TellTalle. I don't know that for a fact. I don't want to say that is, but there's some kind of skepticism, but hearing all these other things, it's just really, really rough. And you're right. I really hope, yes, the gamers do deserve to get the finished product or at least get some financing back. But the people who were really, really hurt here the most were the employees, and they. The movie that comes to mind here, it's a really big stretch, but remember, was it Fun with the Jim Carrey movie? Like Dick and Jane or something like that. Fun with I think so.
Yeah.
And he becomes a scapegoat for a company that's kind of like an Enron style like money thing, and he goes back and spoiler alert, he tricks and cons the former CEO or the former head of the company into putting all of the money that he stole into a pension relief fund for the employees that were screwed over. I mean, I would really, I'm really hoping that there's some kind of outcome here where there is that relief. It just, it
needs to be a thing.
There needs to be something, and I know that in the United States and in most other countries, your right to work is really, you could have a job today, you could lose a job tomorrow. It could happen, and it's rough. It's the reality, but sometimes it's not your fault, and sometimes it's just the wrongdoing of somebody else, and you don't deserve that punishment. And this is one of those cases, but moving to a darker but a brighter note. Slight transition. Yeah, we're gonna get a little bit darker. It's Halloween season, right? We're in October. You see the light. Yeah, light levels. Get it? Yeah. Halloween.
Yeah, you see my light level? Yeah. There's my light level.
So, just kind of ending on a positive note, we love talking about Destiny 2 here on the podcast. Right? Dibear, you're a huge Destiny 2 fan. Jim,
I am. I stream a lot of Destiny 2.
You kind of like the game, I think. Maybe a slight fan. I don't know.
Sometimes.
And I call myself a part-time grinder at Destiny 2. I really like seeing games bring in the seasonal changes with the current day, right? Destiny 2 will never be something where, like you were saying, we can't go visit Titan. Destiny 2 can never be a reality to us, where visiting something like Fallout's West Virginia location and stuff like that. But at the same time, we can incorporate it into our daily lives by bringing our holiday seasons into the game. And what they're doing is using the Halloween. What is the name of the event? Correct. Keep me honest here.
Festival of the Lost.
Okay. So it's going to run for a little bit of time here. There's special missions. There's special rewards that you can get. There's a light level 600 weapon that is Horror Story. Correct? No.
Yep.
Yes, Horror
That's
Story,
correct.
which is a spin-off of Origin Story. Originally, the plan was to throw this right at Jim. And to kind of let him show it to us. But I think with the late how late we got into the podcast, I don't know if we're gonna have that availability. But Jim, you guys have played this a little bit today. I've only spent like 20 minutes, so fill me in
a lot today.
Jim, fill me in, and then Di, tell me about what you've run into after Jim kind of fills us in.
Okay, sounds good.
Short version on this is it gives you a quest right off the bat. They send you down to investigate this. It's a nice lead in to what the Festival of the Lost is if you've never played it before, because this is something that dates back from Destiny 1. They've made some minor changes to the lore side of it, and Amanda Halliday, who's been a pretty useless NPC, now gets some play. And the short version of this is that it kind of leads you through it kind of leads you up little by little in activity to what eventually become the Haunted Forest, which is just a reskin of the Infinite Forest from Curse of Osiris. They've made it a horde mode. That is a timed horde mode. The longer you go, the harder things get. And as of this recording, the highest one that we're aware of is level 10. We don't know if there's more than that or if what the situation is there. However, for completing these waves or levels or whatever you want to call it, with a boss fight, you get this currency, which the name currently eludes me. I will look in just a second to get it for you. The horror story is a guaranteed buy at like 120 of these currency. And you get anywhere from 3 to 12 at this point. I haven't heard of anyone getting more than that from a run. So getting that weapon shouldn't be too difficult. But here's where it gets interesting. This is an event that is available to you regardless of what DLC you do or do not own. And the weapon will drop at the highest possible light level depending upon the DLC that you have or don't have. So if you don't have Forsaken, but you have Curse of Osiris and Warmind, it'll drop at 380. If you have Forsaken, it's a 600 drop. Hello, Sam. How are you? Which I think is really cool. So because those of us that haven't been grinding super hard, that's going to represent a gigantic increase in your overall light level for all your characters. It will make that climb just a little bit easier with relatively small gains. You also have Halloween masks, Festival of Lost masks that you can wear throughout that particular event you will earn perks on those masks. That this isn't a light level capped event. It scales based upon what your light level is. Mm-hmm. The problem with the masks in the past has been that it drops your light level, making other things more difficult, which is supposed to be the challenge, and they didn't provide any perks whatsoever. You just had to complete bounties wearing the mask to get credit to get this stuff. This is way more intuitive, more useful, and it feels like it's been really curated to give a really cool experience for the 3 weeks that it's open. So you get these masks, you can have fun with them, you earn them over time. There's no real world currency needed to get any of this stuff, whereas in the past it was something. It was jokingly referred to as Festival of the Cost. You know, people were like, all right, well, spend how much money to get what? So people won. That's what it is. So but it gives you more flexibility, but there's a lot of really cool cosmetics in the game. Like you can get like a ghost projector that's a little kitty cat, and you can get all kinds of nifty stuff with.
Some of the masks are really cool too.
Some of them look a little really cool. Meh. Like the base one.
There's one that's a ghost. It's awesome.
Right. They're fragmented souls is what they're called.
There it is.
Yes.
And I feel like it's a really smart move. Do this kind of because they've been really on a roll. Each time they do a seasonal event, it becomes something that's more involved, more accessible, something that really kind of adds to the game in a real way, provides some rewards and incentives to play without it feeling like you're losing out. You're getting double engrams throughout the entire event. So you get your regular bright engram or whatever you call it, and then the one for the event specifically, which are called ephemeral engrams.
I think so. Yep. That's like one of the only things I do remember seeing.
I feel like it's one of the most rewarding things that they've done for an event so far. On the 30th, which is about 3 or 4 days out from the ending of the event, there's going to be a murder mystery quest that drops for a character, Master Ives, who was a cryptarch in the Reef prior to this. And there's rumor that the reward for completing that may be something really cool, like an exotic weapon from the past. There's no confirmation of that. We have no idea what the quest is actually going to be. Don't know. We don't know a lot about it, but the fact that it's something that will add some life to the event towards the end, I think is really cool because a lot of people are going to go in. They're going to grind out that weapon. They're going to grind out the masks, and they may help others with whatever. But ultimately, I think that you're going to see people kind of drop off the event, and then to have that at the end is really smart.
And
there's also been some sweeping patches to the game. It's pretty big.
And Di, you've been grinding most of the day. I think you've been playing a lot of Destiny 2 today. So how do you feel like this is playing out timeline wise, or as far as effort wise? I mean, do you feel like you're making some headway into the reward structure? Do you feel like it's one of those, I've got to play this all day, every day to feel like I'm getting somewhere, or I've played all day, it was too easy, I'm already done? Like, do you feel there's a good balance into the effort you have to put into this?
Well, that's an interesting question because I'm also grinding out my light level trying to get to 600.
That's fair.
So I'm like 555 right now. And what I do is I go to the Traveler and I buy all of the bounties I can. And a lot of bounties are actually duplicate. So I went ahead and let me see. I did my first quest, what you had to go to IO to start the Halloween event. And then you go, and I did the first Infinite Forest by myself. And no one was match made with me. And then I ended up doing 2. It was like going in for a strike. I had 2 other people with me. We made it to level 8 or 9 on my second game with the trio. And so after doing all of that and getting all of the daily quests done, and I can't do any more until tomorrow. I'm at 24 currency. Okay. So I think that's pretty good. Yeah, and as far as leveling up goes, I did a lot of their bounties to the point where I usually do Crucible last, and now I've got most of my Crucible bounties knocked out. So I've gotten a lot of stuff done today. And then another thing I've noticed is I've been getting Masterwork cores dropping like crazy this week. So I had 7 of them today, so I was able to finally level up a bunch of gear and weapons.
That's awesome.
So
yeah, the weekly for this event. I didn't mean to interrupt. But the weekly for the Haunted Forest will drop 7 cores by itself. It's pretty cool.
Oh, so I have a lot more cores coming this week then. So
at least 7.
Yeah, it's awesome. But I think if you're doing it as part of your daily grind, you're just going to keep getting more resources to help you out because all of these bounties work together.
That's honestly one of the oldest tricks in the Destiny book that is the most unsung. When you get a chance, there's a Destiny Year 1 video that Bungie put out at the end of Year 1 in Destiny 1. And it basically shows the evolution of the community and how some things became memes and this and that. But there's one particular thing where they show a guy throwing a hunter throwing a throwing knife into getting a precision kill on a hive enemy. They just had 6 bounties go off at once as completed. That used to be kind of one of the cool skill things in Destiny that you still have to a degree, but it isn't. They aren't quite as synergistic. There isn't quite as much of that as there used to be. But I think that if you learn to stack the bounties a little more, you will definitely prevail in terms of
you get things done faster.
Yep.
Another thing I do is a lot of activities you can do together. So like if I'm doing a public event, I'm also grabbing levers for patrols while I'm doing it. And there's 2 kinds of patrols I do. Only 2. One where you just kill stuff, and then the other one when you grab like the things that fall. And when you do that, you get through your stuff so fast.
Oh yeah.
One more thing about the Halloween event. What I like about this, and I'd like to see more things like this, is that it does offer a break from the daily grind. And I think this is exactly what they need to do to just kind of refresh the content a little bit. Am I going to use these masks afterwards? No, probably not.
Until next year.
But it's fun going for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've maybe put 15-20 minutes into it, so I don't really have a whole lot of kind of frame of reference. I didn't play it in any previous sets, but it is interesting. It does to me feel like it can take me away from having to worry about, well, I got to do these powerful gear, challenges again and each week and all that. I do like that Destiny rotates through a different event or season or concept each week. I know Iron Banner's back again. I know a lot of people love it. It's one of my most favorite things, but at the same time,
spoilers, I'm playing it right now.
yeah. but at the same time, some of
I actually enjoy it, and I hate
it's
Crucible.
fantastic. Yeah, I don't like PvP either, but I love Iron Banner.
Iron Banner's fun.
One of the things about it is if you don't have a lot of time to put into some of the weekly cycles, you're not gonna get really all of the rewards that come out of it that you'd like to. And I did feel last time that the banner came around, I kind of fell short on my own participation and didn't really get. I didn't feel rewarded by it.
They've lowered that by at least 20% on each bounty.
Yeah.
And each bounty now yields a powerful reward, whereas last time it did not.
Right. So
that fear goes away.
Yeah, and it doesn't. From what I looked into briefly, in the seasonal event, it doesn't feel like I need. That's why I asked you the question, Di. How much effort are you really putting into it? Well, if you're already at 24 or 20 something, for the currency, and that's just one day in. If this is more than a week long event, you'll get there. You're not going to get there tomorrow and you're going to feel like, I just, threw 2 days at it. I'm done. I'm bored. This event's over and done with. But then you're not going to get to the end of the season. You're going to be like, oh my God, I'm not there. So if you put a little bit of time into it, I think it feels, the math feels right for the right kind of balance to where a part-time grinder, a full-time player, both can reap the rewards and not fall short.
But I will drive this into the ground. People that have been struggling with light level, if you stop everything you're doing with regards to light level pursuit and just go after that damn gun, it's a guaranteed 600 weapon.
If you have the Forsaken DLC, yeah.
Right, exactly. And if you don't, it's a guaranteed 380 drop, which is still pretty big. Might even be 400 now that I think about it. In any case, the point being that you will have... Anyways, this is a great mid-season out the arm to the power level jump. So in other words, average goes up considerably with maybe 3 days of effort, maybe.
Sure.
And then you do all your powerful rewards for this week, including Iron Banner, or if you finish them and just don't turn them in, that means all your powerful rewards will be that much higher. So a lot of that soft cap stuff that hits around 550, where your powerful rewards are 1 to 2 above, now suddenly, just by virtue of the average going up, will no longer be the case. So if your overall light level now becomes, it would be because you're talking about, in my case, a 40 light jump almost. Well, 35 now, with that weapon. And on an average, I think that would make me go from 563 to something like 580. Just by
really
virtue
ahead of you in
of
light?
Yeah. But
for light level, honestly, if you're trying to get a higher light level, focus on the powerful rewards. And then another thing I noticed, and I hate saying this because I hate this mode, but like Crucible, ever since Forsaken dropped, Crucible has just been rewarding me with ridiculous gear. And I suck at it. So if you just do a lot of Crucible, you're going to level up pretty fast.
Because your prime engrams and so forth.
Yeah.
The thing with power leveling, thing you can do to up the average, help. So I'm going to harp on this to anyone who will ask. Got to get that auto rifle. You have to get that auto rifle because when you hit those soft caps at 550, that's a thing. There's different level. The powerful engrams stop giving you a big boost at 540 and 550, and then the climb each 10 gradually slows down as you get closer to that 10 because everything's struggling to catch up, and you don't have any control over what drops because RNG is not your Lord and Savior. He's a jerk. This will take some of the slog and the slowness out of that grind by giving you a big boost. Because even if it's only dropping at 1 above the average you have, with a 600 weapon, I'm now sitting at, an average of, let's say, 580, which is going to be close to the average I'll have at that point
Mhm.
because of the 600 versus an average of 160. Now my drops will be at 580 or 581
Mhm.
as opposed to the 563 drops I'm getting now, 564,
Mhm.
and so forth. And then the prime engrams will then drop at some shit like 588, which is it's going to basically catch me up by about 2 weeks on what I was doing before, which
Yeah.
means 600 could come potentially within 2 or 3 by the end of Festival of the Lost, which is insane to me.
I'm picturing the Kool-Aid Man coming barreling through a wall at the tower, going, "Oh yeah," and holding the horror story. Right? That's what I'm picturing. That is how big of a shot in the arm that this weapon can be for you. You're breaking.
Yes.
You're gonna crush
It's
multiple.
game breaking. Yes.
Yeah. So.
And like I said, I don't think it's any coincidence that this event and this reward are coming mid-season. This is when typically Destiny tends to start to become a slog, where it's and it's not that you aren't having fun, but it's like the goals seem less rewarding just because the way the light levels
Very repetitive. Yeah.
Yep. And you've cycled through events repeatedly. You've gone back through the weekly rotation multiple times. You're seeing it's Iron Banner again, and then it's this again and stuff.
But
like
when
that.
you see a prime engram drop at like 8 above your light level, that's very exciting. It happens a couple times a week, depending on how much you play. But imagine every powerful drop, at least for a few days, giving you that feeling, and making a jump that huge in your light level with one item like that. It'll kind of give you that feelings. Plus, I've looked at the perks and the archetype. It's one of the best auto rifles in the game, so get it anyway. Shoot people with it. It's fun. It's great. Times.
So I think that's gonna do it for us. I know we're all excited. I'm gonna jump into the grind tonight a little bit.
Probably gonna go do some more Crucible.
Yeah, I think we're all gonna go do it a little bit.
My work here is done.
So, if you have a podcast topic you would like to discuss on the show, email us.
That isn't Destiny.
That is Destiny. Bring it on. We love it. TRUTalk at TRUgaming.com, TRUgaming.com. Go to our website, TRUgaming.com, or any of our social media links to contact us.
And remember to subscribe to our channels for episodes via YouTube, Twitch, iTunes, Spreaker, SoundCloud, and now on Spotify.
We'll be back in 2 weeks, not 1 week this time, because even Jim and I get to take a week off here and there. We'll be
2 semanas.
Yeah, we'll be back with a special guest, a good friend of mine, Nex Paints. So we're going to have a little bit more of the Twitch creative side to talk about. Make sure you guys check out the Discord at discord.gg/TRUgaming and tell all your friends, unless you're like Jim and just have me as a friend, about the podcast. See what I did there? Yeah. So that's going to do it for us tonight. I really appreciate it. A little bit longer of a conversation tonight, but really, really good conversation. Die Bear had a blast. Love the passion. Love
Thank
the
you
input.
so much.
Awesome stuff.
That's what I bring.
Hey, Jim. Say goodnight.
No.
Say goodnight, Die Bear.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good week. We'll see you in another 2 weeks. Take care, everybody.
Get the horror story.